Hey, all right, I didn't. It's on the road for Christmas over there, but so I came down to visit my parents. So, anyways, he's still he's still feeding the verses, man. He's still feeding them. It's crazy. The things you see on the way down, the signs all around you. I mean, he confirms everything in his word. Everything's being confirmed. We're wrapping things up. All right, so this verse is in Isaiah chapter 9, verse 2. First, I'll read it the way we'll see it in most of our Bibles, and then take every word back to its origin using the lexicons and the Strongs. We'll read it that way. And this verse has got it all. It's got it all. It's all right there again. Okay, so Isaiah 9, verse 2. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined. Okay. So that says a lot. You can almost get it. I mean, if you've been following for any amount of time, you can almost see what it says there. So they that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, that's here, okay, upon them hath the light shined. Okay. So you can almost understand it. Here we go. So now let's take every word of that verse back to its origin using the lexicons and the Strongs. Isaiah 9, 2. You know what? I'm going to put on my glasses. All right, here we go. And my writing's hard to read sometimes. Okay. Isaiah 9, 2. The kinsmen of Israel. And, I should have went over that. But Israel, when you first look it up, I forget the first part, but I know when you take it back to its origin, you'll take it back and it'll say who they are, the chosen ones of God, the descendants of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. Okay. And you take that back, it'll say from this origin, you take that back, it means princes of El, the princes of God. Just like Psalms 82:6 says, I have said you are all Elohim, you are all children of the Most High God, but you have fallen like one of the princes. Okay. And Israel, when you take it back to its origin, and it'll say, Jacob, descendants of Jacob and Israel, whose name was changed to Israel, or whatever. It'll also mean, when you take that back, it'll also mean princes of El. So here we go. The kinsmen of the princes of El, that means the children of God, a flock, as in sheep that went astray, a flock that are held, they're held hidden. They're held hidden and concealed together in darkness, which means willful ignorance. They're held together by willful ignorance, by their own willful ignorance. They were led away following a talebearer, a liar. That's a liar, a talebearer, someone who tells lies, tall tales, right? A talebearer, a liar. So they've been led away following a liar. That's Satan, I'm sure. To be destroyed by death, to be destroyed by death. Wandering to and fro in confusion. And where do we live? The Bible has referred to the place where we live as Babylon, the whole world, where the languages were all confused. Just like the Bible, a lot of was lost in translation by the translators when they translated it into different languages. A lot was lost. Okay, but none of this goes against the Bible. It just gives it more clarity and helps you to understand the truth of who we are, where we are, and what's going on here. It reveals the light. It's a beautiful thing. So they were led away following a liar, to be destroyed by death, wandering to and fro in confusion, taken away by their own ignorance and wickedness, to be weakened by concealing the light. They are weakened by concealing the light, and that's truth, by concealing the truth, the light of the truth, following one's own way. So they were following their own way. They wanted to do their own thing. And who is Jesus Christ? I am the way, the truth, and the life. So they were following their own way, not Christ. Okay, following their own way to experience the joy of one another. And I believe that's referring to sexual acts and creating their own children, creating their own kingdom. And here, the lie of Satan. You can become like the Most High God. You can have your own little kingdom in this world, in my world, I should say Satan was given dominion over for a time, to purify God's kingdom, to test trials and tribulation and oppression to test us, basically. But we're not in the time of testing yet. Not yet, but it's going to get much worse real soon. Okay, I hate to say it, but that's what's coming. And he's warning us. Every verse is warning us about that. Okay, so they were weakened by concealing the light of the truth, following one's own way to experience the joy of one another. Haughty things that are insolent, and insolent means showing a rude and arrogant lack of respect, going beyond the acceptable limits. So we've went beyond the acceptable limits, and like in the days of Noah. That's why God put an end to it. Man was just wicked, and he put an end to it. They've went beyond the acceptable limits, and we're there now. We're there now, and this verse is telling us we're there now. So we've went beyond the acceptable limits. Okay, we are full of pride, and that was Satan's downfall, and that our flesh is the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. When you are birthed into this world, you're not birthed into life, you're birthed into death and condemnation. You're a sheep that was led astray, led to the slaughter, a beast of burden, a sheep that to work the ground by the sweat of your brow, right? And burdened by sin and condemnation and guilt, okay, the guilt of sin. Okay, a beast of burden, the image of the beast. That's why you have to be grafted back into the main vine of the tree of life through Christ, God's only begotten Son, by the rebirth of your Holy Spirit, by the rebirth of your spirit by the Holy Spirit. Grafted back into that tree of life and become a new fruit from that tree. Okay, so arrogant, which is lack of respect, going beyond acceptable limits, okay, full of pride, magnifying yourself by a twisting, now this is interesting, by a twisting together, and you'll see this when you take every word back to its origin, by a twisting together of threads, and I believe that's our DNA. Like one end, the terminus point ends in 5, and the other end ends in 3. One is Abba the Father, that one is the angel from the bottom split, anti-parallel, in opposition to each other, but they run together. And they're the chains that bind us, the strings, the chains of DNA. DNA strings and chains, they're the chains that are strung together. Bones, ligaments, tendons. When you look up that word in that particular verse that talks about the chains, ligaments, strung together, chained together, chains that bind us, okay, our DNA. Okay, by a twisting together of threads of a tassel, and that's a fancy thing, a tassel on the end of strings as a tassel, adorning yourself. Okay, you adorn yourself as in a body, you've adorned yourself in a body, this flesh, to become a proud tower, of the morning star, a proud tower of the morning star. And the morning star can represent Satan. Can represent Satan. So you're a proud tower of the morning star, Satan. So by being birthed into this world, you followed Satan. You listened to another voice, you were led astray, you followed Satan. Okay, and you did this to be illuminated, to learn, right? To be illuminated of his law, of God's law, I believe that's talking about, or the laws set down in this world that lead you and trap you here by death and condemnation and guilt. And I'm sure that is, but it's God's law that was established, and we broke the first, so we've broken them all. And if you don't understand that, look at the very first of the 10 commandments and take every word back to its origin, then go through all the rest. By breaking the first, you have broken them all. Okay? To establish a habitation and remain down, opposed to the heavens. The inhabitants of a wilderness in a land without return, in Canaan. And Canaan was the grandson or great grandson of Noah. He was the son of Ham. So he was the grandson of Noah. Okay, anyway, so that's what Canaan can mean. But it also means this. Canaan also means brought down by a heavy load. So you are inhabitants of a wilderness in a land without return, you were brought down by a heavy load, the burden of sin and death and condemnation, by being led astray, the shadow of death of a place of the dead and calamity, a shadow, and meaning a transitoriness of life, so transitory of life. Hovered over by darkness. We've been hovered over by darkness as a penalty of the destroyer, as a penalty of the destroyer, to kill the body of a man. And transitory means something that's not permanent, not permanent. So we're in a land of the dead that's not permanent, and it's a transitoriness of life. So it's a temporary dwelling place is this flesh, this body that is temporary in a temporary world, time, because that's part of what holds us captive here. Time. We're trapped in a place in time, a temporary place, right? The transitoriness of life, okay, as a penalty of the destroyer to kill the body of a man. And transitory means a place that's not permanent, and it means you have gone across. That means you have gone across, and it also means the nature of earthly joy that is fleeting and temporary, and coming to an end, Okay, the princes of Els, that's the Elohim, princes of El, Israel. We are all true Israelites when we're born again, but we're born into death and condemnation. We are called Gentiles when we're born into this world. The whole world is Gentiles. When you have turned your face from God and followed another voice and worshiped this idol, this flesh, and desired it, wanted to indwell it and inhabit it and create your own children, your own kingdom, do what you want to do, be your own judge, right? To learn to understand good and evil, right? Led astray by Satan, okay? Fleeting, coming to an end. And this is the princes of El's light, Israel's light, to be kindled. So the princes of El's light, the whole purpose of the world is to kindle our light, to set us on fire by a cause to be enlightened, to understand good and evil, to understand God, to become like the Most High. We were led astray by Satan. And that was the deception. You can become like God, knowing good and evil. You can become like the Most High, knowing good and evil. And that's what's happened here in this world. Understand what it is. It's a temporary dwelling place. Your flesh is not you. You're trapped inside your flesh. You're a spiritual being. You're a soul. And I'm not going to say living, because if you're not grafted back in the main vine to the tree of life by the gift of the Holy Spirit, which is a free gift when you turn back to your Father and ask his forgiveness, and he loves us so much, he died for us, he forgives us, he wants you all to come back home, right? So understand what this world is, a temporary dwelling place. And they call it the abode of the dead, okay? And we're trapped here in darkness by the threaded together in a body as a penalty of the destroyer, okay? Understand this. And Satan said, I will exalt my throne above the stars of heaven. Who are the stars of heaven? They're the angelic host. Who are the angelic host? They're the Elohim. They're the children of the Most High God. You are all Elohim, Psalms 82:6. All children of the Most High. But like if you don't turn back to your Father and ask his forgiveness and become reconciled back to God through his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, if that doesn't happen, then of your Father, of this world, of this flesh that we've been intermingled with the seed of the serpent, the seed of Satan, here, then you're of your Father of this world, the destroyer, Satan, as a penalty. And don't get me wrong. If you're taking this wrong, you're not getting it. God is in complete control. This entire system, this entire world, this entire reality that we're trapped in, this temporary reality we're trapped in, God is in complete control of everything. And when you're born again in the Spirit, it glorifies him because you can see it in everything. Everything. You can see it in other people and movies, and in his word. You can clearly see it when you study it, led by the Holy Spirit. And you can see it in billboards and signs and television shows and movies and music and clothing lines. It just, everything you see, it glorifies God, because then you can see how in control he is and how much he loves you, actually, and what he did for you to come back home, to be reconciled back to him, to come home. This world's not our home. It's not our home. It's a purification system for God's kingdom, in a way. So understand that. All right, so there's that verse. All right, it's beautiful, and he's given me so many more, I just can't even keep up. All right, so God bless you, and really study the word and understand. You got to be able to let go of the things of this world. If you put anything or anyone in front of God and wanting to be with the Father, then that's what you're worshiping, and you don't deserve. I mean, he's the perfect judge. He knows your heart. Understand that, but God needs to come first. He's your creator. Do not worship the creature more than the creator. All right. God bless. Have a great day. Bye.